The next unit, dear friends, is on the human nature. That is the human nature. Plato, the allegory of the cave is very important. So many people are even today shaped by this allegory of the cave. St. Augustine, Plato would hold that our body is a prison, and soma means body. Soma is a sema, S-E-M-A. Sema would mean a prison. Plato and Augustine had a very dualistic understanding, dualistic, dichotomized understanding of body versus soul. Body is against the soul. While Aristotle, Aquinas, they had an integrative understanding of the body and soul. The prime matter and the human soul, they inform each other. They complement each other. Body and soul are integrated. The same vision we spoke of Karl Rahner. His two books, I have already shown you those two books in the PowerPoint, which you can still trace. Please remember these two books. Hearer of the Word. As spiritual beings in the world, we are hearing. Hearing is a physical activity. Word is a spiritual activity. We are hearers of the word. And we are also spirit in the world. Spirit in the world. And Rana says, sometimes God doesn't speak, he remains silent. So the challenge before us is we are called to listen to God's word even when he does not speak. So in a situation like COVID, when so many of us pray for healing, yeah, God remains silent. So can we find God's love in the cruelty that is going on, in the exploitation of also the COVID victims, and in the silence of God? That's what the Germans experienced in the Auschwitz, when so many millions of Jews and Polish people and refugees were put to death by Hitler. Okay, Theodor Shadan is another scientist, theologian, poet, mystic, philosopher, theologian, scientist. He would say that the matter is spirit which has become solidified. There is an unbreachable abyss between the unconscious matter and the conscious spirit. Abyss means separation, depth. But in the human person, we have overcome this separation between the unconscious matter and the conscious spirit. They are actually intimately connected. And another insight of his is that we are evolution become conscious of itself. The whole process of evolution has been going on for millions of years. But only now, recently, human beings have evolved and we realize that we are part of the evolution that has conscious of itself. And today, in the last 30, 40 years, we have even extended this definition. I have a couple of articles on that. We are today evolution that is capable of eliminating itself, or we are evolution capable of enhancing the very evolution that has given rise to us. Either we can totally annihilate, eliminate ourselves, or we can enhance our evolution using technology, using the scientific tools at our disposal. So, we prefer the view of Aristotle, Theodor Shadan, and Karl Rahner, and we would say, following Joseph Donsil. Donsil was an American philosopher, and he has actually translated many of the French philosophers, French Jesuits. Donsiel would say, we are embodied loving affirmation of God. Embodied loving affirmation of God. Before that, there is Freud who would say human beings are will to pleasure. And Nietzsche would say we are will to power, the Superman. Then comes Viktor Frankl, who would say we are will to meaning. Human search for meaning, logotherapy, and the two summary of logotherapy. We can summarize Frankl's views as several forms of neurosis can be traced to the failure of the sufferer to find meaning and a sense of responsibility. Many of the neuroses that we find is because we do not find it meaningful, the suffering meaningful. To live is to suffer, and to survive is to find meaning in suffering. Yeah, there is so much of suffering in and around us. But to survive this is to find a sort of meaning. A mother who has to bear so much of pain to bring up the child, sleepless nights, agonies, crying, and accompaniment. She finds meaning in that suffering, to see the child grow up, and in that way, she has really given some kind of a joy. This quote I am not going to repeat because I have said it so many times, and I want you to know not only this quote but also the implications of this quote. Now, coming to existentialist philosophy, I only want to say existentialist philosophy began or emerged during the world wars. There was so much of anxiety, emptiness, lack of truth and knowledge, confusion. And it is at that time people began to talk about angst, terror, choice, responsibility. And in a way, our situation now is similar. The coronavirus has made all of us aware of the death that we are facing. So let us come back to some of the themes of existentialist philosophy. Concrete, specific commitment. Existentialists are not interested in theorizing too much, but let us know what people are afraid of, how do they meet daily needs, and in meeting that needs, what about the other? Is the other people? Hell is the other. That is in this I want you by all means know. These two famous quotes of Sartre. Hell is the other. Human being is a useless passion. Then Marcel, his understanding of my body. My body is not something I have. My body is also something that I am. There is a tension between I have a body and I am a body. I suffer, I enjoy, I cherish, I relish myself and my body. Okay, that is actually the end of the third unit, human nature. Then we have actually the origin and development of human beings. Yeah, first let us begin with the inner conflict that all of us face. As St. Paul says, I do not what I want to do, but what I don't want to do. There is so much of greed, selfishness, alienation in us. There is a power in us even to make use of the COVID victims for my own benefit. There are so many cases of COVID victims who have nothing, who have lost everything. Even they are exploited. So in that sense, Paul Ricoeur says the exile is the primary symbol of human alienation. Our life can be symbolized as the exile. The exile is, when the Jews had to leave Israel and go to Babylon, and they were waiting for the return. So they are not in their own house, they are not at home with themselves. And that is actually our life now. We are really not at home, not just because of Corona. That is very clear. You are not here in JDB, in Denobili, Papal Seminary. That is something which you miss. It's not only that, but when you look at normal life, we wish that things are radically different. We wish that we can live with each other in joy, in sharing. But that's not what is happening. So the exile is a primary symbol of human alienation. And unfortunately, life is a struggle, survival of the fittest, and might is right. These slogans made popular by Darwin is still with us. Because we are concrete bodily beings, we need symbols. We are symbol using animals. The Eucharist that we celebrate is the symbol of the real presence of God. The crucifix we kiss is the symbol of our intimate connection with me and with God. The sacraments, yes, they are the symbol of a deeper life. The meals that we share together, not just the Eucharist, the ordinary meals that we share, the greeting rites. Now, unfortunately, we cannot shake hands. The greeting rites, the namaste, that's all the symbol of our life. Every day morning, we fix a time, we have a routine, we get up and then do our activities and go to bed. They are all symbolic actions. Only by using symbols, we can make our life meaningful. By the way, my doctoral thesis was on symbols and idols, and it is published with the title Idols to Die, Symbols to Live. Only when we let the idols flourish can our greediness, can our selfishness go. Let our life be a symbolic one. Now, human development, we have seen actually our total intimacy, unity with the rest of the world in terms of these three things. The mineral kingdom, we are 65% oxygen, 18% carbon, and all these things. At that level, we are totally one with the rest of the universe. Also at the vegetative kingdom, the aspect of vegetative kingdom is that of movement, that of life, reproduction, nourishment, and repair. When it comes to animal kingdom, in addition to this, they have also movement like us. So when it is the mineral kingdom, the vegetative kingdom, the animal kingdom, we do not have anything unique. We share with them everything that we have. But this is the beautiful aspect of our life. What is unique in our human beings? The conceptual language, the creative art, the transcendental religion. These three things together is what we call the human culture. We have a culture which we pass on to the next generation, and animals do not have a culture. That is why we say that we are unique. Wolfhard Pannenberg would call this Weltoffenheit, openness to the world. It's a German term. Welt is world, Offenheit is openness, openness to the world. You remember this? I hope, how many of you can recognize this figure? Where is it found? Where is this found, or who has painted this?
Sistine Chapel.
Yes, sorry?
Sistine Chapel.
Very good, very good, very good. Sistine Chapel in Vatican. Who is the author?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. And what is the specificity of this part?
God meeting human.
Wait, look carefully. God meeting humans. Just look at those fingers.
There is a void, Father.
There is a slight void. God is trying to reach out. Humans are also, but there is no real meeting place. This is, what we used to call ever approachable, never attainable. There is a slight distance. God is trying to reach. We are trying to encounter God. We are trying to shake hand. But this is exactly what human life is. There is a part of that exile. Yeah. And I want you to know this. Okay. So with that, we have come to the fourth unit,